Hi, good morning. It's currently 8:15 and welcome back to Vicky's Garden. On today's episode or today's video, we're going to be talking about my walk with God. In order for me to start this channel off right, and in order for me to, I want to start this channel in full transparency and full honor of God, but that has to show my vulnerability in the stages of my life and what I've went through. So go ahead and buckle them seatbelts. This is going to be a two-part video because my journey with Christ started when I was young, when I was a child, and it goes into my adulthood now. So we're going to talk about before adulthood, growing up, and then we're going to talk about after in part two, more so like college and adulthood. This is probably going to be another uncut video because I want to be able to allow you guys to see if I go through any emotions. I shouldn't, because I think I've gotten over majority of what's happened, but with me going through the emotions, with me going through the storyline, I want you guys to be able to not just see and hear, well, not just hear, more so see how I'm a walking vessel. So I have my notes because it's a long walk, y'all, and I'm gonna do my best to summarize it up the quickest I can, but we can do debriefs on like story times another day. This is just gonna be part one walk. The next video for next Sunday will be part two walk. So we're gonna start with childhood. I grew up in the church like a lot of people did. That's why you believe what you believe, because your parents believe what they believe. Grew up going to church ever since I was out the womb. We went every Sunday, went to the Bible studies, went to vacation Bible school. My parents were a part of the church. They worked or served within the church when they had the time to, back in the day. But I want to say the pastor of our church passed away. I don't know how old I was, but after he passed away, I don't know if you guys know the process to getting a new pastor, but you basically have like a couple of, like, I guess the board of the church selects a few pastors or ministers or whomever, and they'll come in, basically like a trial. So they'll come in, and it's like a month to like 3-month period. In my head, that's how long it was. I could not tell you because I haven't ran this by with my parents. It's been so long ago since this happened. I could not tell you how long that process was. But during that trial, don't mind my broken English. It is very early in the morning. It's 8:20 a.m. So sorry. But during that time when we were looking for a new pastor, we came across a pastor who attracted the youth a lot more. And not saying he wasn't a good pastor, because we didn't go to that church much longer after that. My parents honestly continued to go to that church because they had a loyalty to the pastor at the time. The pastor at the time helped my parents when they were in a tough spot. And because of the pastor's kindness towards them, my parents continued to go. And them services were long, y'all. Them services were like 3 hours long, but it included food. It included food for the most part, and if not, we would go get food afterwards. But my parents had a sense of loyalty to the community that they were, I guess, attracted to, that God brought them to when they moved down here. Because I'm originally from Valdosta, Georgia, and I lived there for only 2 years of my life. I was 2 years old when we moved to where I'm at now. But whenever we moved, that pastor helped my parents and helped them be a part of a community that they needed at that time, which is why we went. But then when the pastor passed away, God bless his soul, he was a good man. After he passed away and the whole trial of the new pastor started, and we found a new pastor, I'm gonna go back to the part where I said that he attracted the youth more. My parents saw early on how the pattern of the church was going. And that kind of determined the reason why we left so early. I don't even remember how many sermons we went to with that pastor. I could tell you probably like no more than 10. And not even that, that's pushing it, honestly. 10 is like, I'm being graceful by saying we went to like 10 services. Best way I can put it without being disrespectful to anybody, because granted I was a child at the time, but I also saw what they were talking about. If you guys know what a megachurch is, and if you guys know how people today in this society will do almost anything to get people in the church, but with them almost doing anything to get people in the church, they're not representing Christ correctly. Like, either, I'm just gonna leave it at that. And I feel like for those who know what I'm talking about, y'all know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the best way I can is we experienced church hurt. And I'm not saying the people were bad, but there was a shift and change in the church environment. And it became, oh, let's not bring people to church because of God. Let's get people to church because we need our numbers up. There's a difference. There's a big difference. So instead of focusing on community and actual, fellowship within each other as a community, they were just trying to fill out the seats and expand, which is a goal, but they prioritize that more than prioritizing the main reason of being in church, being a church group and community together. So after that, me and my family, that's why I said me and my family bounced from church to church trying to find a new church home. And there was always something. Either we didn't like the worship, because when I go to church, I want to enjoy listening to music. I want to enjoy everything. I'm not finna sit and be in one place for so long if I don't enjoy it, which sounds very selfish, but when it comes to worshiping the Lord, I am very particular with the deliverance. I need to be able to gain something from going to church. And if I can, then I'm not gonna just sit here and sit in a church and waste my time, unless God just tells me I need to be in that church for a reason and help make a shift. But he ain't do that. He wasn't doing that for our family. So we bounced around a couple of churches, and either something wasn't right with the worship, something wasn't right with the programs. A lot of these churches rush their services. They want to have everything done within an hour's time, which is okay. But I'm sorry, 20 minutes for worship, 20 minutes for or 40 minutes for a service doesn't do what I need. I'm gonna say what I need because I'm not talking for everybody else. It doesn't do what I need when I go to church. I don't get anything from that because I feel like, oh, we're on a time schedule. So now that I know we're on a time schedule, I'm not engaging myself in the word and in what the preacher is preaching because I'm like, okay, we got however many minutes left. So we experienced a lot of that, and I didn't realize it until I got older and was having conversations with, more like-minded Christians that was an example of church hurt. I didn't know that because I'm like, well, the people weren't messy. I still love some of those people when I run into them to this day. But there was a shift and it wasn't for us. So after experiencing that church hurt, my family and I decided we're going to do our own Bible studies at home. And that's what we did. So we would my dad would let it, we would open up our Bibles, we would journal. And my parents taught me young, when you go to church, like, it's important to take notes because you'll hear it, but you might need to retain it so that you can, carry it out through the week. And that's why I love that our day of Sabbath, our holy day, is on Sunday, because we can go throughout the week on the notes that we took in church that the pastor, was sent to deliver to us. But with everybody's schedules getting busy, my family, that slowly died. And it slowly died because, for one, at that point, I want to say I was in middle school. So I had a lot of stuff going on. My sister had a lot of stuff going on, extracurricular activities, I was always in some type of dance thing, and then I was always doing some type of clubs. Same to my little sister. She was doing soccer, piano, singing. She was doing a lot of that. So there was a shift within our family. And not saying we didn't love God, not saying that. I'm just saying we prioritized our daily life and our lifestyle more than we prioritized our relationship with God. So that shift caused, I want to say, a good distance between me and God, because the relationship I had with Christ was through my family and with my family. So not even just through my family, more so through my parents, because my parents were the one leading. So now that's just the backstory. So now I can go into high school, middle school, started in 8th grade for real. When my first real encounter with God happened, I want to say when I was like in 10th grade. But in order for you to understand that, I need to give you the buildup of everything else. So don't mind me. So, okay, a little backstory of me. Growing up, for one, I'm the oldest child in my household. I'm of 2 girls, and I have my mom's attitude like nobody else. And if you and your mom go back and forth a lot, that's because you have her same tendencies, and y'all butt heads because of that. You don't like somebody telling you something that you already know or do or whatever. Say, if you're an older daughter, if you're the oldest daughter, you know what I'm talking about. I ain't gotta go into it. But my attitude, which was my mom's attitude, caused the 2 of us to clash heads very often, especially the older I got. Everybody has gone through some type of little teenage rebellious stage or some type of attitude stage. It's always within like the preteen, like I'll say 11 through like 16, for sure you're gonna go through it. And so with that, I was going through that. So I had other stuff to preoccupy and to like dial that down. So we might have gotten into it real quick, real small, real tight. Okay, anyways. And it wasn't like we were arguing back and forth. It's just I had attitude. She was my parent. She would discipline. I didn't know why I was getting in trouble. But then again, I don't think I knew how to verbalize. I needed an explanation as to why I'm getting in trouble, because it didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense. So when stuff don't make sense to me, I'm like, well, I'm coming back with attitude just as bad as my mom's coming with attitude. And because I'm the child in the situation, I'm not realizing I need to shut up and listen to what she's saying. In my head, I'm like, no, I'm entitled to know. I'm going back and forth. Granted, I am, but there's a right way and a wrong way I had to go about that. And I was going about it every wrong way. And then I was trying to be slick. I'll say I was trying to be slick. I was trying to do what I wanted to do. I wasn't doing nothing crazy. I was not, but I was trying to be slick. And with all of that going on, I slowly started, and this is the first time I'm actually talking about this, because when I was writing all this out, I came to a realization about myself that I did not know. And we're gonna get into that. So I'm self-diagnosing myself. I've not gone to a medical doctor. I'm not doing that. But I'm not gonna speak it over my life, but I went through symptoms of depression for a very long time. And I didn't realize how early that started until I was writing all this out. But my first real experience with symptoms of depression started in, I want to say 8th grade. And it started in 8th grade for 2 reasons. My grandma, my maternal grandmother, she passed away the summer of 7th grade going into 8th grade. I'm currently, I want to say I'm 21 now, so that was about 7 years ago, I want to say. I can't tell you. 7 or 8 years ago. But my grandma was a sweetheart, to my knowledge. You know, there's a lot of unsaid stuff that the old folk don't want to tell me, but I love my grandma. And if you have a good relationship with your family, you know, my grandma's your grandma. And I called her Grandma Pink House because her house was pink and she lived right up the road. She's the reason why we moved to where we are now, because my grandma was sick. And my grandma has fought many battles of cancer and different type of illnesses. And when she went through her sickness, she didn't have anybody to take care of her. So my family and I, my mom dropped everything she had in Valdosta, got a job up here, my dad got a job up here, and we moved up here to aid to her, take care of her. So after she passed away, I didn't realize that was the start of my depression until, or I'm not gonna say that over me, but I try not to cast things or like talk things over myself in a negative way. I'm working on shifting that. So if I say that, I'm catching myself, okay? But I didn't realize that was the start of the symptoms of depression until writing this out. But that started it. And then my dad got a promotion from assistant principal at one school to principal at another school. So that was a big transition with that. With that being said, I'm not only adjusting to a big loss, a big grief, because I saw my grandma 2-3 times, scratch. I saw her like 4 or 5 times out the week growing up, because whenever my parents needed somebody to watch me and my sister, we went to my grandma's house. She was only a 2-minute drive down the road. So I grew up with her in my life, and then she was just gone. And with that, and me also, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. With that, and me moving to a new school, because when my dad got the promotion from assistant principal to principal, the school he was principal at was not on the same track line of where we originally were planning to go. So we planned on we went from elementary school to a middle school. There's like 2 choices, maybe even 3 choices of middle schools you've ever gone to go to the high school. And he was working at the high school that we were on track to go to. Then he shifted. So with him shifting, and after me and Olivia got out of elementary school, because my mom's a teacher and she taught at our elementary school, my mom left because she was just tired. She needed a change in environment of where she worked. So since my dad was moving over, he was like, I want them to be under my roof. I want y'all to be with me when y'all go to high school. So I moved middle schools. So I went from being in a middle school with the people I grew up with since I was in primary school with, and then my last year of middle school, 8th grade, I'm in a different school. I'm in a different environment, and I don't know any of these people. Mind you, I didn't realize until I got to this school that I was different. And I say different because I remember people didn't recognize who I was until not even recognize who I was. They didn't know I existed until the 2nd semester of the school year. I don't know if that was because I was naturally quiet, and I'm not, because I can talk. Or I just don't know. They just did not know who I was. And they're like, Victoria, did you just move here? I'm like, y'all been here since the beginning of the school year. Like, that hurt. That hurt. And I realized I was a loner. Like, I have the tendencies to be a loner, but I didn't think I was, because growing up, I was a social butterfly. Like, I was talking to everybody. I wanted to be friends with everybody. I wanted everybody in my circle. Like, the whole popular life, I wanted that. I wanted to be that. Didn't get that. That wasn't my calling. That wasn't what God wanted me to do. He said, you gonna mind your business and go over there. And that's what I did, but I tried to rebel against that a couple of times, and we're gonna get into why. So, new to the school, big change in my life. I saw myself as a loner, and the drastic shift in the environment, it did some damage on me. But I got comfortable where I was at after the 2nd semester of 8th grade. Depression was slowly being built, not realizing it, okay? Or symptoms of depression. Then we're gonna go into 9th grade, and 9th grade was a trip. I can do a whole nother story day for that, and if y'all really want that, I can, because I'm grown and I can talk about it now. But I faced so much racism. I faced so much prejudice, and just not prejudice, prejudice actions, against me, not from students. Here's the kicker: not from students, from adults. Who were these adults? Oh, they were teachers. Why were teachers coming for me? Oh, because they didn't like my dad. They didn't like my dad. My dad was the first black principal at the school, okay? So, the fellow blacks in our community, or that fellow African Americans, whatever you want to call them, they called us the Obama family. We were the Obama family of the area, like, staple, good man, pretty wife beside him, 2 kids, 2 girls. Like, we were the little Obama family. That's what everybody started calling us. And when I realized, it was like, oh my goodness. I'm sorry. Now that I'm thinking about it, I did not deserve what I went through. Let me get some of my OJ real quick. But regardless, I am who I am because of all this. I experienced some mess because the teachers did not like the change that my dad was making on the school. And I say the change because my dad had to take some big steps in order for the environment and the community of this high school to change and drift. Because the school that I went to originally, I never heard of it. It was in the same county, but I ain't ever hear it. I never seen it. I never knew about it. I didn't know anything about the school, and that was because there was no for real community. Nothing was going for the school, and my dad had a vision to change the school when he got the job. So with that change, and with him being a black man in America, you already know what that comes with, and I should not have to tell you. Also, happy Black History Month, power to the people. But their dislike, they couldn't take it out on him because he was their boss, but they did come for me. So I could tell you right now 3 teachers that everybody loved. They were coming for me in any way possible. I had a situation where one of the teachers was trying to always get me in trouble for running errands because I always got my work done. My mom's a teacher, my dad's a principal. With that, if I'm falling short academically, there's a problem. And I'm also the overachiever between me and my sister because in my head, in order for me to stop getting into arguments with my mom, I had to do everything academically right because attitude wasn't doing it. And she said, as long as them grades are good, you'll be fine. But she meant grades, attitude, and clean the house, but I wasn't registering that for real. But that's another conversation for another time. So these teachers, one of them would always try to get me in trouble because after I would finish my work, one of my teachers at the time would send me on errands because I already knew the ins and outs of the school because my dad worked there. I'm staying there late until my mom got off work to pick me up. So she would send me on errands. I'd always have a little hall pass in my hand, but he would go and complain to my dad, your daughter's doing this, your daughter's doing that, and you want to sit here and do XYZ, XYZ, you need to worry about your own child. Y'all coming for me for what? For what? It don't make no sense. I had a teacher who basically told me that there was rumors being spread around the school about me. She whispered in my ear and she was like, you're such a sweetheart. And because I used to go to her class and talk to her, and I thought she was like one of my cool teacher friends. No, she basically befriended me and then told me that I need to get my mess together because teachers are talking about me behind my back. The teachers that I thought cared about me and want to see me do well are just talking ish about me. And I'm like, mind you, I'm 14 years old, y'all. I'm 14 years old and I'm hearing this from an adult. And I went to the bathroom crying because I'm like, what did I do? That's the biggest thing. What did I do? Granted, I understand. I had a little attitude problem. That was my biggest issue. But she doesn't know that. She doesn't know anything about me. She doesn't know my inside to my life. And so I went crying to my dad. I said, Dad, this teacher told me XYZ. I said, have you heard any rumors about me? Because I'm so confused on what's going on. And I was just crying and boo-hooing. Come to find out, she had a big grudge against my dad about a lot of different things. And I didn't go to class because she wasn't my teacher, but I had a teacher right across the hall from her who was like the PE, not the PE, but you're supposed to do like the health class or whatever. Yeah, she was right across from that. So I didn't go to class for a little bit, and that caused me to also go into a little deeper of the symptoms of depression, because I didn't understand why adults were attacking a child. And this is still not right. I'm not justifying that, but I didn't understand at the time why she was coming for me, or what I was doing to cause so much attention from her. And she still tried to talk her way and get back on my good side after that. No, I didn't go to class for a month after that. And even then, she was instructed not to talk to me, not to look my way, basically, and she still did. She still made it her mission to try and come at me and vocalize whatever she felt necessary was vocalized until she felt the pressure that she was getting. Because for one, my mama don't play, but my daddy is teddy bear unless you play with his family. He turned into grizzly bear. So he was starting to, because my dad is very nice, very professional, and she never saw that side of him, but I'm guessing she slowly saw it, because he wasn't playing about what she was doing, as he shouldn't, because what are we doing? So that was the biggest situation, but there were a number of other things that teachers were doing that slowly just got at me and attacked me, and I didn't realize how much it affected me, because I was still in school. Like, I had other things to do. I was in color guard, I was in winter guard, I was in student council, I was in every little thing you could think of. I was in the FBLA, I was in FCCLA, FCA. I had a lot going on my plate, so I had a lot of distractions, okay? And that's important for 10th grade. 10th grade was 2020. Yeah, I know what happened 2020. But I felt like the beginning of 10th grade was great. Finally had everything going on that I wanted to go. Like, I had everything I basically wanted. I really did. Everything was going right. I felt like I finally had my friend group. Finally had a good set of friends, because I've had issues with friends for the longest time. And then the shutdown happened. When the shutdown happened, all those distractions that I was talking about beforehand were wiped away. So everything that I had been going through in elementary school, in middle school, in primary school, because I faced some stuff in elementary school, but it's not that important to the story. And I say face some stuff like racism because of my parents. I've been going through this for a minute now. I really have. But basically everything that I had been distracting myself from came to surface with the shutdown. And so I was left alone for the first time with my own thoughts. I've never had to do that before. Never. So I'm sitting with my thoughts. I'm getting negative, mindsets of myself, and negative, I was thinking of myself in the worst way possible. I slowly began to be insecure about my physical body, my capabilities, and what I'm good at. I was basically having a midlife crisis. I didn't have my friends to talk to anymore. That was the beginning of my isolation with God. But basically all of that was on the forefront of my mind. So everything that I never dealt with, all the hurt, the pain, or whatever that I had went through, I never dealt with any of it because I had so many distractions. I'm like, it's fine. I'm gonna get over it. Like, I'm just gonna focus on this so it's not on the forefront of my mind. But I was burying myself in so much. And mind you, me and my mom are still fighting, arguing, going through it, whatever. I don't want to say fighting because we were not fist fighting. We were not doing that. We could not agree to disagree to save our lives, and we were arguing all the time. which drove me into a nail. But the constant arguing with my mom, and the isolation and the adjustment of being alone in my thoughts drove me crazy, y'all. Like, if you've never had to do that before, I'm gonna go ahead and let you know right now, it is scary. And it is scary because all of the worst thing you could think about or that I ever thought about of myself, they just came to the surface. Now, I know that now that was an attack from the enemy. An attack. But at that time, I also wasn't that close with God because, like I told you before, my family kind of prioritized our lifestyle, not realizing we were slowly losing our faith in God. Not saying we didn't believe in God, but we weren't putting him in our routine. So with him not being in our routine, we were focused on what's going on today, what's going on this week, what's going on this year, what we have to do for the month, blah, 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 blah. We worried about all this, not worried about him up there. So, like I said, 2020 drove me to the worst mental state I had ever been in. And I was going through almost every internal battle you could think of. Going through the wrestle and tussle with my mama. I was losing friends who I thought were my friends, and if you know me, which you don't, which is why I'm doing this, but to the people who are watching this, most of y'all already know me, but friendships to me have a way higher value than a relationship. To this day, never been in a relationship, not a serious one. I've had my talking stages, blah, 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 but I've always valued a friendship over a relationship because, for one, I want my relationship to sound like a friendship. That's number one. And number two, I feel like, boys, men, they come and go. When you find a true friend, I don't remember which verse it is, but a true friend is like a sister or brother. I'm gonna find it, and I never read that. I didn't know that at the time, but that's how I valued a friend, like a sister or brother. So losing the people that I thought were supposed to be my friends forever, I also did not have the understanding that every friendship has a season. Now, some seasons are supposed to be every season. Some seasons are just for high school. Some seasons are just for middle school. Some seasons are just for college. But I didn't understand that. So I had a extremely big fight with one of my friends at the time. And then another friend from middle school came back into the picture. She and I fell out. She just ghosted me out of the blue. And I was like, what? And mind you, if you are my friend watching this, I don't have to say it. Y'all know the type of person that I am. And when I say you are my friend, I don't play with that friend word. I don't. But when I tell you, like, when you have the friendship title for me, call me and I'm there. Like, I am such a reliable person to the people I care about, to the people I love, to the people that I cherish and are in my circle. Granted, I have subdivisions of circles within my friendship group, and we can talk about that in another video, and how you should keep boundaries within your friendships and all that mess. But if you have the title of friend, I care about you so much. All you have to do is call me and I'm there. I'm being so for real. So the fact that I was going through all that, and then the fighting with my mom, the people I thought I could confide in, I couldn't confide in because we were going through our own situations. And I felt totally alone, like feeling the totality of the isolation and not being understood by anybody. That drove me into the biggest wall, the biggest nail. So I can tell you right now, I was probably sitting and soaking in all my emotions and all my symptoms of depression, all of it, because I felt like I was alone. I felt like nobody understood me. I remember having a conversation with my dad at the time. This is important. At the time, he told me, because I told him he could tell. They knew I was like shutting myself in my room because I just didn't want to socialize with my family, even because this is still through COVID. He told me he had a new rule for me to open my door so I can have some people time, some family time with them, even though I didn't want to. And he told me, he was like, I know you feel like nobody understands you, and I know you feel like you're walking alone. But he was like, but I promise you, go pick up your Bible. Go pick up your Bible. So many people have walked or experienced what you have experienced, maybe in a different scale or in a different measure. But you have people in the Bible who can relate to you. And I was like, mind you, this conversation, I'm full on crying because I don't know how to feel the emotions I'm feeling. I don't know what emotions I am feeling. That's the big one. I didn't even know what I was feeling. But he told me, he was like, pick your Bible up. And my excuse was, that book was made how old ago? These people don't know what I went through. Like, he was like, but God knows what you're going through. He wasn't wrong. And so that conversation led me to open my Bible a little bit more. And I'm gonna tell you, my first real encounter with God was during that time. I think I had went on a drive, and I'm sorry this video is long. If y'all just want to leave, go ahead and leave. I'm so sorry. But if you want to for real understand me, you have to understand this walk. But it was one day I was taking a drive, crying. I was overwhelmed with emotion. Like I said, couldn't identify the emotion I was going through or the emotions I was going through. I couldn't tell you, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I could not tell you I'm feeling anxious. I could not tell you I was hurt because I did not want anybody to see me weak. That was a big ego problem too, but I didn't want to admit that I was hurting, that I was going through some type of suffering. No, that wasn't me, because I was the person that people went to when they needed help. And I was like, why is everybody coming to me with their issues? But the minute I need to come to them, they leave. It's like they got what they needed from me and just left. So then, me just thinking all this stuff on my drive, I sat in my car in front of the house, in front of my house, cried for hours on hours. I think I was, and now this is also why we'll talk about this another day too, but this is also why I feel like it's important to monitor the music you're listening to. I was listening to The Weeknd, and if y'all listen to The Weeknd, granted, The Weeknd has some good hits now, but a lot of his music is depression filled, like, and I got consumed in that. But I was listening to The Weeknd, sitting there crying, and I remember just screaming, why, God? Like, why am I going through this? I don't know what it is I'm going through. Why am I the one who is suffering when I do so much for other people, when I do so much for my family, when I do so much for everybody else? But it's like nobody wants to take the time to understand what I'm going through. I can't even take the time to understand what I'm going through. And I was just like, because the one person I would have gone to while I was going through my friendship breakups and stuff like that was my mom. But like I said, me and my mom were not on good terms at that time. I could have gone to my dad, but me and my mom have a different relationship than me and my dad. But, you know, like, same with if you're a boy, you have a different relationship you have with your dad than you do with your mom. If you're blessed enough to have a father in your life, I'm so sorry. Did not mean to be insensitive to anybody. But if you have both parents in your household, it is a different relationship to have somebody the same gender as you. You can confide in them more because they'll understand more from a male's perspective, me for a female's perspective. And I couldn't go to the one person I needed to go to because at the end of the day, like, my mom is my parent, but she was also my best friend. My mom was my first best friend, and I didn't have her at that time. So I was so overwhelmed and just crying, like, because I had cried and just went through it all so much, like, because it got to the point where I didn't even cry anymore because I was so numb. Like, for real, my heart was low-key numb to the pain I was going through, because that's why I couldn't identify it. My heart was so numb, I couldn't tell you. I remember I had a day when I just stopped crying, and that worsened some situations with me and my mom because she was just like, you don't show no emotion, da-da-da. What do you want me to do, cry about it? That, like, I can't do it anymore. That day, I hadn't cried in a long, long time. Probably like some months. And I finally broke. And I was like, Lord, if you're here with me, I just want a hug. And I was like, that's impossible for me to feel a hug from God. But I just need a hug. Because nobody else can give me a hug and make me feel better. Nobody else. Not saying my parents couldn't, but like I wasn't getting what I needed. I just need a hug. And for the longest time, I tried to jinx myself. Not even jinx myself. I tried to lie to myself and say I didn't feel that. But I felt that hug. I felt it. I physically felt something or somebody hug me. And it scared me. I was like, nah, maybe that was just the heat in my car because I had my heater on. But I'm like, I wouldn't have felt it the way I felt it. Anyways, after that encounter, I started opening my Bible more. That caused me to. Because the one time I needed, I was at my breaking point, y'all. My breaking point. I was so gone, so far gone. I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I said, if this is what the rest of my life has to look like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm not saying I was suicidal. I'm not saying I'm suicidal. Or was suicidal. No. If I was suicidal, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was too much of a wuss to even commit to that. Thank God, because that's not of God. But it was, I was ready to, I was ready to give up on life. I really was, because I was just like, everything I'm doing is not working. Everybody on the outside of my life thinks I'm this amazing kid. They're like, oh, you have such a blessed family. You are such an overachiever. Like, basically all the material things that I want to hear, like I was doing good in school and blah, blah, blah. I got that, but when I was home, it wasn't enough. So when I felt that hug from God, I knew the Holy Spirit was there with me. Because for one, I've never felt that before. I haven't felt that since. But I was like, God, if this is really you, you're going to make a transformation in my life. You see where we at now? Okay. So that was 11th grade. No, that was 10th grade. Going into 11th grade, I still felt isolated, but I truly became comfortable in my isolation. And going into 12th grade, 11th and 12th grade, I really focused on myself. Hold on. I really focused on myself, prioritizing what I needed to prioritize, mostly on God, because after that, my parents, I remember it was like still during their pandemic when 10th grade, and I had finally gotten out of it just for a day. It wasn't a long time, but I gotten out of it for like a day, because we went to Sam's Club and we went to go as a family. And my dad was like, what's different with you? I said, God, Jesus. He could physically see it. My mom could see it too, because I guess I was in a better headspace that day. But anyways, moving into 11th grade, I was still isolated and truly became comfortable in my isolation, but I slowly tried to shift my focus more towards, okay, maybe I'm in this isolation for a reason. Maybe I'm supposed to be here, because I was slowly regaining my trust in God back. 12th grade, I don't know, one of my high school friends, love her hands down. Don't even talk to her anymore, but her dad was a pastor, and she sent me a video of a pastor that she liked watching. So I started watching the pastor and taking my notes and doing what I need to do, and my relationship slowly regained back. So I was focused on God and prioritizing my goals, and I was locked in on the success that I had in store for me. With me doing all that, I graduated high school and college. So I was able to accomplish a lot. I'm gonna go through what I accomplished just because I was in a better headspace and I had God in it. I interned under a judge as a legal secretary for about 6 months, about a good 6 months. I graduated college with my associate's degree at 18 years old before I graduated high school. And I had a 3.7 GPA. And then, no, I had a 3.9 GPA. And then I graduated high school probably like 3 weeks after I graduated college with my associates with a 3.7 GPA. I had the most tassels you could see. Like, I was so proud of all my tassels because I was like, why don't nobody else have these? I was like, oh wait, I was like dripped out in my tassels, y'all. I was so proud of myself. And then I went to college. This was a last minute decision I made, but I went to college playing golf. I know I don't look like the golf girl. I know I don't, but that's part one. So I said all of this. I'm so sorry. This is a very, very long video. If you guys stayed to the end of the video, thank you. I hope you can understand just a little bit of who I am, why I am the way I am, why I value people in certain ways, and why I can maneuver the way I maneuver, because I went through a lot of hardship at a very early age that life and God doesn't normally give to people until they're in their adulthood. But I went through a lot of stuff that other people would have gone through. I went through it very early in life. Very early, which is why I can go ahead and take, oh, you're so mature for your age, or da-da-da-da. So, this was a long video. I did not mean for it to be this long. However, I had to be fully vulnerable and transparent. I'm surprised I didn't really choke up and start crying, because twice I would have twice within talking about all this. But this was just part one. Thank you so much for getting to the end of this video with me. And please comment in the comment section for any questions that you may have, because I'll answer them. I definitely will. But any questions you may have about me, any questions you may have about a situation you're going through, any questions you may have about, not even questions, or if you want me to talk about certain things in my viewpoint on it, I'll make sure I take time to either talk about it or make a video about it. But with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. My social links will be in the description area. They're also in my YouTube bio. And thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for staying and watching this video.